Hello everyone, this is Weather coming at you with another update. In this update, we talk about a historic winter storm with an ice storm, heavy snow, and some record cold temperatures. So before I do get started, if you do like weather-related content, please subscribe to my channel as I will upload daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. And I do ask you to share this video with your friends and family on social media. All right, so let's get started. Here's your latest watches and warnings map. And I don't think I've ever recall looking at a map that had so many widespread winter storm warnings across this whole entire area. Pink is all inundated from Texas to Oklahoma to New Mexico, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, portions of Tennessee, Kentucky, going into Indiana. This whole pink area is under winter storm warning right now. So there's two storms that we're going to be talking about, and they're back to back, and they only have about a day in between. And so over this next 5 days, it's Sunday afternoon when I'm doing this video on Valentine's Day. It's going to be some of your worst weather a lot of these areas have seen in your lifetime, with the combination of record cold temperatures, heavy snow, and portions of crippling ice you're going to have to be dealing with. So let me kind of walk you through this map. So here's the latest surface feature. We've got those heavier snows starting to creep into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. It's snowing pretty good right now in Oklahoma City, and all this snow will really start to intensify going out throughout the day and really start picking up tonight. And we've got some freezing rain that we're dealing with out ahead of it, because they're still having that warm air aloft that they're going to be dealing with. And all it's coming from is from the northwest, where they had some heavier snows in Seattle and Portland already. It snowed some more in Seattle today, so that's kind of winding down for them later on. But that snowstorm is heading your way in Texas, and it's making a beeline, and that's why the winter storm warnings are in effect for Texas. And this snow is bringing snow to areas they just don't see. El Paso, all the way down to the deep south, and McAllen, even portions of Mexico is getting snow. Even Brownsville could actually see some dusting of snow. This snow extends into Houston. We're talking multi-inch snow totals in Houston. Portions like Katy, Texas, picking up 6 inches of snow. So this is pretty much historic stuff. And out ahead of it, there'll still be that warm air aloft, where they'll still have to deal with that freezing rain and sleet kind of mixture closer to the coastline into Louisiana, Mississippi, going into Alabama. But Arkansas is going to get hit hard. Missouri is going to get hit hard. Southern Illinois is going to get hit hard from this system. On the southeast, they're going to be mainly all rain, and unfortunately, Florida is having to deal with tornado warnings and severe weather threat for them, as that warm layered boundary kind of sets up over for them. And then that southeast flow, flooding rains in portions of Georgia and the Carolinas for you guys. So as we kind of extend the view into Monday morning, February the 15th, yeah, those heavier snows sets up shop over Houston, getting into Austin, going into San Antonio. You're going to pick up multi-inch snows, 5-6 inches, all the way down into San Antonio. And even portions of northern and northwest Texas, places like Conroe, Huntsville, could pick up almost double digits snowfall from this event. Shreveport, Louisiana, picking up snow. And then we'll have a transfer of sleet and freezing rain. So an ice storm is going to be a major problem with this event as well, with down power lines and trees as well. So those ice-coated trees. And that's going to be swinging up into Mississippi, going into portions of Tennessee, especially like Western Tennessee, Western Kentucky this time. But then it'll transfer to all snow. So I'm thinking, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio gets hit hard with these two systems as these continue moving across. They just implemented Pittsburgh under the winter storm warning, so they're going to get hit hard with this system. And then mainly along the I-95 corridor, you're going to be predominantly kind of a rain icy mix, because a lot of the warm air increases with that ridge that's going to be built in from the Atlantic. So the main story from this event is 2 days. I mean, it's going to be almost historic low temperatures. Here it is, actual temperatures on Monday for the central U.S. I mean, there's a good swath. All these greens are below zero temperatures. So you're talking near zero temperatures in the Dallas-Fort Worth area tonight. That last time they hit -1 was back in 1989. So that is definitely on the table. And these single digits extend all the way down for the deep south into central and the hill country, even down here by Marfa, Texas, and down here by West Texas as well. New Mexico is going to get hard with, very, very, very cold temperatures. And even down to Louisiana and Arkansas, single digits. I mean, Missouri, all negative numbers. I mean, you've been negative up here for Montana, the Dakotas, and Minnesota for a while now. And that just continues. And now the deep south is entering that stage. So these are dangerously cold temperatures, and it even gets worse with the feels like. So we're talking 40 below zero in Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and portions of Illinois as well. And then even Michigan's going to be feeling those below zero feels like temperatures, as that will continue to push south into Arkansas. And then much of Texas goes double digits below zero wind chill feels like, and those extend all the way down to the deep south, and even negatives getting into the Houston Metroplex, if you can believe that. And so going forward, this is on Monday afternoon, and look at this Arctic air. It's putting sleet in the Gulf of Mexico. What kind of crazy stuff is that? I mean, even the sharks are getting sleet out there. I mean, this is an historic event. I mean, I've never seen sleet or freezing rain or snow or anything in the Gulf of Mexico. So that's some crazy stuff. And once we get inland, it just intensifies even more as this continues moving into, Alabama, Mississippi. Mississippi gets hit hard from the system with the combination of sleet and freezing rain. It's just kind of on the borderline of northwest Alabama. But it really kind of picks up steam going into Kentucky. I mean, all these areas get hit hard with ice. I mean, the ice is nothing to play with. I know you've just went through that in Kentucky. Unfortunately, you're going to get hit with it again. And that will continue up the coast in West Virginia, southern portions of Pennsylvania, and then heavy snow amounts once you get further inland. And upstate New York, going into Vermont and New Hampshire from this system. But then we have to see another system back behind that as this continues pushing up. We're having that demarcation line with the southeast ridge making very heavy rain along the southeast, extending, amplifying. There's that warm air aloft. So I had the question, hey, well, why is, if it's temperatures in the 20s, why is it going to be, freezing rain? So, but you'll have a warm air aloft. So as rain falls, it'll melt and then refreeze on contact. So where we're having that transition line, where that Arctic air is in place, you're mainly getting all snow out of this deal. But where it's not even prevalent on all levels of the atmosphere, that's where it's having the mixed bag of sleet and freezing rain. So that's why this is going up the coast as freezing rain as this continues moving into the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. And that just continues moving across on Tuesday morning, the 16th by then. And that really ramps up in portions of the Northeast, bringing that snow band further inland, with that ice threat over portions of Vermont and New Hampshire by then. So it's going to be a mixed bag on all levels from this first storm. But then again, back behind it, that's when we really max out with those very low temperatures. The lowest temperature we've seen in decades. We could be hitting some crazy low temperatures, getting all the way down to possibly negative digits now, possibly even up to -5 in portions of the DFW Metroplex. These negatives extend all the way down into central Texas. These are actual low temperatures. I mean, 11 below zero in Oklahoma City. That is what's on the table, guys. In Arkansas and Missouri, double digits, and it even gets worse as we go further north. But look at the swath of just below zero temperatures, and even single digits reaching all the way down to the coast. This is some very impressive cold air. Some of the coldest air you've seen probably in your lifetime for many that live in this area. And these feels like temperatures, just the extended time frame that we're going to be under an extended cold amount with two combined systems. It's just historic. I mean, these feels like temperatures go all the way down into the deep south, even into Galveston, feeling below zero feels like temperatures. That's just insane. As this continues moving through, western parts of Tennessee, we have a huge swath of below zero feels likes. And as we go into Tuesday night, I mean, that first system will finally swing it out, but then we'll have to look out to the Pacific Northwest. Well, they'll be getting an ample amount of snow that's been traversing down this path off the cross-polar flow, putting more snow in the Four Corners region, dumping some more snow into Mexico, where they had that blizzard warning going into effect this morning in Albuquerque. That'll be setting up shop over the panhandle of Texas, going into Oklahoma with some more heavy snow. In a lot of ways, this second system looks to be even stronger than the first system, unfortunately. And so we have back-to-back historic system that's coming across with Arctic air in place. And that does not look good for a lot of you folks with very heavy snow into Oklahoma, into Kansas, going into Arkansas, portions of southern Missouri again. And then, we'll have another ice setup going into central Texas, eventually getting into East Texas as this moves across. Because with this system, this second system, I'm really concerned about. There's at the 700 millibar, there's a warm air injection that's going to be feeding in and injected into the system aloft again. So that's going to increase the upper level temperatures aloft. So as rain starts to fall down, it's going to melt and then freeze on contact as the surface temperatures remain in the 20s and single digits at that time. So all that will create a huge ice storm in portions of East Texas by the time we get into Wednesday and Wednesday afternoon. This is right going to be on the cusp of some very heavy snow breaking out again into the Dallas-Fort Worth area, going into Oklahoma, but just south of the Metroplex. I mean, the math could be off by like 50 miles and make a huge difference in this setup. But we're looking at a severe ice threat. It could be crippling as we get into East Texas with a half-inch, 3/4 inch ice breaking out over eastern Texas, going in places like Tyler, going into Shreveport, Louisiana. I'm very concerned about this ice threat on the second round for this area as this really deepens, and then heavier snow breaks out into Arkansas and Missouri, again in Illinois. There's going to be a difference of about 100 miles with these two systems. So they're pretty much going to take a lot of the ways the exact same path as the first system as this moves across. As it moves across, we'll still have Arctic air in place. This is by Thursday, the 18th. I mean, we still got colder airs. We'll be below freezing temperatures for days at a time. We're still below freezing in Oklahoma still. And this continues moving across. And as it deepens, it'll bring more snow for the deep south and all the way down into, say, Corpus Christi again with more snow for Houston with this setup. And unfortunately, yes, it will create another ice storm for portions of Louisiana, getting into a lot of these same areas that get hit hard with the first system. And then with that cold air damming coming in off the northeast, we'll have some more ice we're going to be dealing with in Virginia, West Virginia, portions of the northeast like Baltimore, Washington, D.C., getting into Delaware is going to be dealing with some ice. Further inland, more snow for you guys in Pennsylvania, going up the coast in Jersey. I mean, getting into Long Island, you'll have more snow for you guys as this continues lifting up and then dumping some heavier snows. Like I said, this one's going to move a little bit further inland. So a lot of these areas will have a kind of a rain, icy mix. But once you get further inland, going into Massachusetts, going into Connecticut, especially as you get into Vermont and New Hampshire, by then. I'm seeing some very heavy snow in upstate New York, getting into places like Albany, Scranton, going into the upper regions of eventually Maine. But yeah, Vermont, New Hampshire, I think just get nailed with this system as this moves up and this banding. And you could have some lake effect snow from this as well along the lakes or along the Great Lakes, so it could amplify these snow totals even more, because with the Arctic air in place, a lot of these snowfall totals around this region for the central U.S. is going to have like a 15, 18, almost 20 to 1 ratio. So that alone will increase the snowfall rate. And we're already kind of seeing it out west. I mean, a lot of these areas are already overperforming what some of the models have said. And then I think that will just continue as this moves across and gets really ramped up for these two storms further central and further east. But as we continue the view into Friday, this finally winds down, but it's going to leave a huge mark with some very impressive totals. We'll start out west. Here's the Pacific Northwest. I think it kind of slowly dies down for places along the coast. That snow moves inland as this Pacific ridge starts to build back in, warming up these temperatures along the coastline. But the heavier snow moves inland, because we'll still have that expansive northwest flow really prevalent, with the ample amount of atmospheric river moisture dumping into these same regions, into Washington, to Oregon, to Idaho and Nevada, getting into Utah, going into Wyoming, then in the Four Quarters regions of the Mexico. And then once it dives down into the central U.S., then we'll start tapping into that Gulf moisture and really start ramping up, really electrifying over Texas. We'll see anywhere from 3 to 5 inches from West Texas. And these are over these two events, right? Over the 2-day total, all these areas could see anywhere from 3 to 5 to 6 inches in West Texas, closer to the coast, 3 to 6 inches in and around Houston, Metroplex, and then higher amounts inland, upwards to 10 inches. And then once we get into the pink with these two systems, even from Dallas, I'm still thinking around a foot of snow combined with these two systems. And as pretty much all of Oklahoma, Arkansas, getting into central and southern Missouri, western Tennessee, Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana, going into Chicago, going into Ohio, all these areas could easily pick up 12 to 18 inches of snow over this 2-day time, storm times frame. And this is literally just from Sunday afternoon up to Friday afternoon. So we're not really talking that long at all of a time frame of these two back-to-back events dumping some very heavy snow. And this will actually get into portions of Michigan as well, especially the southern region. So they're not going to be left out on that with the double-digit totals, but it really ramps down as you extend further north. And where the Arctic air is in place for the central U.S., it's just going to be so dry, so cold for so long. And Arctic air is the driest air, and there's nothing to work with. So it just has very limited moisture supply, and you're not going to be getting much from this storm. But as we continue to lift off to the northeast, yeah, I think the bullseye with this system is along the Ohio Valley. They could be picking up some impressive snowfall totals from this event. I mean, Pittsburgh, another possibly 12 to 18 inches on top of the 50 you've already seen from the system, and much of Pennsylvania could be a foot plus. And once we get into upstate New York and getting up into the Great Lakes, I do think a lot of this is snowfall induced, but we'll have convective banding along the way. So I do think with those higher snowfall ratios combined with the Great Lakes and the lake effect, yeah, we'd be upwards of 2 feet in some of these areas combined over the next 5 days. Some very impressive totals in Vermont and New Hampshire and upstate into Maine. So I am expecting, as we get further south, we'll have kind of that rain snow mix, but still some pretty impressive totals in Long Island, and get into New York City, get into Philly. Some more snow for Philly, getting into northern Jersey. So there's going to be a huge swath of very heavy snow over the 2-day period. but also you're going to be dealing with the sleet as well. So there's just a three-prong approach with heavy snow, record cold, and then sleet and ice. So this sets the stage for an ice threat, sleet threat over much of Texas, Louisiana, along this banding feature where these low pressures will traverse across into the northeast. So that we're going to be dealing with. And then again, the crippling ice is just going to be a major concern, not just the first event, but the second event as well for much of East Texas, especially going into places like Shreveport and northern Louisiana. I just think these areas are going to get hit hard. So you need to prepare for this setup unfolding potentially as this continues moving across along this line. So you can see this gradient is really kind of sharp where you get not much of anything, but then right along that Bear Clinic zone, you'll be set up with a major ice storm for a good chunk of good real estate of the central and northeastern parts of the United States. And also the rain aspect too. There's your liquid precipitation, and there's a lot of liquid to work with this system. Like I mentioned, you'll have some severe threat into Florida, but then heavier rains go into the southeast, into Alabama, Georgia, going to the Carolinas. I think a lot of these areas, western Tennessee gets missed out on this Arctic air altogether. But then out ahead of it, there's going to be a lot of this is your ice threat. And then that's where all the rain systems come from, is the Pacific Northwest. And then it kind of deviates and dies down and then ramps back up again once it taps into that Gulf moisture. So, hey, I appreciate you guys watching. Do take this weather seriously. This is an active time over the next 5 days. Heed all your warnings, winter weather watches appropriately, and stay safe and stay warm. So I appreciate you guys watching. Do like this video. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you before and after the storm.